Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to do a live play workflow. What we're going to do is start from the top all the way through to the campaign. So what that means is we're going to select a company, we're going to understand what's going on with its market, we're going to build a list, good quality companies, find relevant individuals at that company, and then write some copy that will actually generate some meetings. If you don't know me, my name is Isaac Wood. I'm the founder of levergrowth.io. We are an outbound and automated prospecting company. We're helping B2B technology companies, professional services businesses grow their top of funnel with our process. We've generated over 1,000 meetings for the last couple of years for our customers and our business. So we're in the trenches all the time, digging through, understanding what's working today in 2025. Now, let's dive into it. So I have Clay open here. If you're not familiar, this is the tool. It's a great platform. And like I said, let's first start by selecting a company. So I'm going to just go to the Inc. 5000 list and let's just pick one of the top companies. So software businesses are great use case for outreach. In this case, they've been growing 45,000% over the last 3 years. This company called Lesson. They're a premier tech-enabled platform simplifying the maintenance and management process for residential and commercial real estate. Okay, cool. So they're a real estate management software platform. So let's take a look at this company. All right, so we got Lesson, commercial, residential. Yep, I think 5,000. So what we're going to do now is do some research in Perplexity. I'm going to do this all off the top, and I'm going to try to do it as quickly as possible just to show you how powerful using AI in your workflows can be so you can get results relatively quickly. So let's first do a quick prompt. So tell me about this company, what they do, what pains they solve for, and why their market exists. Provide me with a list of 5 competitive companies. And so we wait for the search to go, and in the meantime, we'll just go and grab some water. But this one was pretty quick. They're addressing several challenges: efficiency, cost optimization, risk reduction, scalability. Why does the market exist? It exists due to urbanization, infrastructure growth, more technology advancements, sustainability trends. Here are some competitors. Okay, so Cushman and Wakefield, I know they're like an actual property manager, so they may or may not be a good competitor. Property Meld, Intelligent Maintenance Solutions. This looks like it could be a better competitor. Anyway, we have a good sense for, who this company is now. Again, like when you're doing this yourself, you're going to want to do it more deep, dig into these, really understand them. But let's just ask a quick follow-up question to understand a little bit more about who this ideal customer is. So my prompt is: walk me through this company's ideal customer, review their website for case studies, and try to give as much detail as possible. I want to know who they work with, their titles, and the types of organizations. Ideally, provide company size as well. Real estate sector, managing large property portfolios, property owners and managers, institutional investors, property management companies. Okay, cool. So they're typically working with facility managers, property managers, asset managers, operations directors, portfolio managers. Obviously, commercial, ideal, residential works too. Not available. Their platform is designed for scalability, making it suitable for mid to large size. So they're a mid to large size organization in the real estate sector with a focus on operational efficiency and cost optimization. Customers need centralized solutions for property management and vendor management. Okay, cool. So we have enough to go from here. Let's start in Clay. I'm going to walk through just a couple of these different sources here. So in Clay, there's a bunch of ways you can get your data. You can use Clay as a data source. So what this means is actually finding the companies and the individuals that you'd be reaching out to with the data inside of Clay. There's also a handful of other sources you can use. You can pull in data from an RSS feed. You can use other third-party integrations like Apify, which are all great examples, and I have some other walkthrough videos that you can take a look at. But in this case, we're just going to go with the basic find companies. And so let's just assume that this company wants to reach out to other companies in the United States. So when you're building a list, you want to have some main filters. When you're thinking of ideal customer profile, that you can go really deep and really specific. Because we're just doing some cursory high-level research here, we want to understand broadly who we're reaching out to. So in this case, United States-based real estate type companies. Ideally, they're managing residential or commercial real estate. So the way that we're going to do that is by filtering down by industry, employee size, and then we can even include some additional keywords in their company description. Now, in terms of industry, we'll start with let's do commercial real estate and then just try basic real estate. You know what? We'll start with commercial real estate first. And so in terms of company size, they said mid to enterprise. So we'll start on the low end at 50 just to kind of see the data that we can get. We could say property management, property manager. We don't necessarily need to exclude any keywords in this case. We don't need to exclude any companies with small amount of followers. Just given 50, that means they're a real company. And, you could include major cities or states like, hey, New York, San Francisco. But in this case, let's just see what we can actually get. Okay, so in this case, looks like we only got about 20 companies. So let's see if real estate actually increases that substantially. I feel like it should. Okay, so now we got 1,200 results. Right? I think if we manipulate these keywords, that's going to change how this plays out. Again, for the sake of the demo, let's just import to a new table. So we want to do this quick because speed is the name of the game. Now, we're in the Find Companies table. So what you can do is actually take a look at the overview of your table. In this case, it's just one view. But when you actually pull people and write to different tables, which I'll go into in a second, you can actually see how they all interact with each other. So great, now we have our ideal fit companies. And so we want to actually go one step deeper. We can assume that because they have the correct industry, they are potentially a good fit. Doesn't necessarily mean they are, right? So in this case, this is a management company. This is like a capital partner company. So it looks like they're actually the investor. This is a full service commercial real estate company. Okay, so those are all looking pretty good, which is fine. But you want to double check this. So the way that you do this is pretty simple. You'll want to add an enrichment, or you can just select add a column. In this case, we are going to use AI integration. So you can just hit use AI and select your model. So if you're going to use Claygen, that's going to actually go and do web browsing as an actual agent. In this case, we only want content creation because we're just going to be looking up against the company description to understand what they're actually doing. And so you can choose a handful of different models, right? You can pay for the credits, which you'll see here, or if you have each model's API key setup, then you can actually use the OpenAI API, which makes this substantially cheaper. So I like using GPT-4o Mini because it's fast and it's relatively inexpensive. Anthropic is good for copywriting, and Gemini is coming back pretty quickly in terms of its quality. But for now, we're just going to keep it simple and do OpenAI. So in this case, I have my API key, which you'll want to set up. Otherwise, it'll just use one Clay credit per row. And that's a pro tip to save a bunch of credits in Clay is if you have tools that Clay natively integrates with, what you'll want to do is set up your APIs, and then you'll be able to actually run APIs inside of Clay and not use up the credits. And so you can use credits for workflows like finding emails if you don't have a bunch of different email providers on your subscriptions already. So we're going to do a very basic prompt, and there's a few ways to go about this. The way that I'll just do it today is a very basic and a very, very simple prompt. And a lot of people go wrong with prompting. They either don't give enough context or they just go crazy with it. In this case, we are going to provide the context from the company description and ask it to analyze the description and tell us if this company is actually a property management. So this is how you'll do it. I'm going to say review description and determine if this company is actually and say only return yes or no. So that's important. This last piece here, that's going to impact your formatting. You'll want a consistent format because that'll allow you to filter the data much better. But let's just try this, see how it goes. Okay, so this top one here is telling us it is real estate manager. So this is technically a real estate investment firm. This one provided no. Let's see what they say. Real Estate Board of New York. It looks like it is a professional skills organization. So this is actually correct. It is not a property management company. So we can validate this further, but based on a couple fields, it's looking pretty good. So what we'll want to do is then just run this whole column, and then it'll continue to run. And so you can click into the cell and you'll see, oh, interesting, right? It'll give you like what the actual response is, which you can break out as its own column, which we'll do, and then just call it company property manager. And the reason why you want to have its own column is because, again, you can prompt against it. You can filter. When it has this packet of data, you're not going to be as able to use that. So in this case, you can see how much it costs. So it's a fraction of a penny. And so like if you compare that to the cost of one credit, it's a pretty good discount. So just something to think about when you're building your lists. So let's just say we want to only work with these property managers. So in this case, we'll only want to show the filter yes. So, it's still pretty early, but we have about 300 companies here, which is solid, right? And you can see only yeses. Now we have our list of good fit companies. We're not done yet. What we want to do is find people. So there are two ways that I'm going to actually show you how to find people in this specific instance. And so the first way that you can do it is you can hit actions and then you can hit find people at these companies. So going back to our analysis, we'll see what are they looking for? Facility managers, property managers, asset managers, operations directors, portfolio managers. Okay, so let's say we want these types of folks, and it looks like we'll need a comma separated list. So let's go get one. So I'm just saying make this a comma separated list and it'll give it to me. Make these single, not plural format. All right, so again, going back to Clay, for the job title, we'll want to include these titles: facility manager, property manager, asset manager, operations director, and portfolio manager. And so you can select from an external list. You can just search from this query here. You can again focus on the company attributes. So if you want to dial this in even further, like say we had 50 to 1,000 and you only want 200 to 500, you can pick that one and it would just pick those out. So in this case, we have this list, which is filtered based on this view, which has only the property management companies. And so, right, it's looking up against the LinkedIn and it'll find people for us. So let's see what it gets. All right, cool. So based on this, we have property managers and assistant property managers, portfolio managers, asset managers, right? All of the director of operations, all of the titles that we search for. So the way that you want to go this is hit import to new table, and you can choose to enrich the profiles. I don't recommend it. You should honestly just do basic profile for the most part, and then you'll just hit continue for free. So this is pretty good. Now we have our list of people. So what you'll do now is you'll go and find their email addresses. One of the big things here that you should note, when you're doing the find people, you'll always get the LinkedIn profile, but you will never get their email address right away. So that'll mean you'll have to do an email waterfall, which I'll explain in a second. But I said I would show you two ways to find people. So this was the first way. So the second way is especially good if you are already using a software called Apollo.io. So with Apollo, they're a really great people level data source. They're relatively inexpensive, but again, right, they're a completely different tool. So like I said earlier, when you want to set up integrations with the software subscriptions that you have, you can set up your API with Apollo. And that's what we'll do here. So I'm going to show you what you can do. And there's a handful of different options. You can enrich company, enrich people, you can find open jobs, you can find people at company by job title. That's what we're going to do in this specific case. So I'm going to select that option. And so now you'll have to select your Apollo account. Okay, so the way that you'll want to find the relevant people is through your job title search. So like I said, we have already built our comma separated list, and let's get some job titles, and we'll want to map the domain. So the domain is going to be here. And so in order to prevent Apollo from running against the bad fit companies, what we'll want to do is provide a conditional run formula. So Clay has this really great function in here, or feature, that allows you to basically create any formula you could ever want using written text, and then it'll convert it for you. So basically what we'll say is like only run if, and you can scroll down to company property manager contains yes. And we'll see here, all of these are yes. So that's the keyword. Over time, you'll understand contains, includes, equals, does not contain, contains all of. You can use those search operators to make sure that these formulas are accurate. So in this case, this looks right. So we'll hit output is correct, save formula. So now in review, we have our job titles. We're looking up against our domain. I want to make sure that we have only the United States. And in this case, we'll add the fields. So we'll just hit save and we'll run it on 10 rows and see what we get. So we found multiple people at all of these companies. So let's look. Okay, portfolio manager might be a good fit, might not be. Property development manager could be a good fit. This one found 4. Facility manager, asset manager, facility manager. Okay, good. So we can assume these are all accurate. So this is an interesting thing here, right? So you'll see there's all these different people that are found on the company level. In order to actually get into this data, you're gonna have to do a function called write to table. Now this is something that's really useful, and it allows us to take multiple slugs of data and then put it into its own row so we can manipulate it. So in this case, right, we have 2 people in this. You know, if we were to prompt against it, then we'd have issue. So instead, we'll make sure that each of these 2 people are on their own row, and so make sure that they're qualified. So I'll do this really quickly, and we'll just do a write to table. And so we'll just write to new table. And then from this list, we'll include this, insert all properties. So you'll want to select people, and then you'll map the field. So we'll definitely want their LinkedIn URL. Just start that as a new column. Definitely want their name. And we'll want their title, and we'll want the organizations. So that's a quick and dirty. You can add as many fields as you want or are necessary, but let's just do that for time's sake. Just got to make sure there are no empty columns. Let's see. All right. So now let's find that other table. All right. So we got 59 rows. So you can see here, right, we have 4 people from Hackman Capital here. So now we have relevant individuals. So what we'll want to do, and what I'm seeing, are some titles that might not be a good fit. So before we find their email addresses, we'll want to do a title exclusion. So let's just pretend that, HR is probably not a good fit. And in all seriousness, it probably isn't. So what we'll do is create a formula to get rid of it. So we'll say if title contains HR, then, and so what we'll be able to do here is remove that bad. So this one and this one. All right, cool. So it looks like there's actually a bit of a duplicate here. And so the way you'll want to deduplicate is select this icon down here. Auto deduplicate, you can enable it. You don't have to if you don't want to, but then, you can select their LinkedIn URL. If you have email address, you can do that too, but LinkedIn URL is relatively unique for the individual, and you can hit save changes, and then bang, gets rid of some of those bad fits. So now you have the person, you have their title, deduplicated, their company. So now the next thing that we want to do is actually find their email address. So this is very very You just do this, you plug in all of the different email providers that you want to use, and it'll then give you the amount of emails that it can find. So in this case, I'm gonna just do one, just show you how it works. I use ICP sometimes, pretty good. Name, run 10 rows, give us 10. So the benefit of using the waterfall is it'll check one source, and then it'll check another source, and it'll check the next source. And you'll see here, this tool doesn't always find them. The reason why I'm using this is because it's inexpensive. So, all right, we got one email here. The way that you'd want to, you can manually sync this up, but all right, let's look at find email. And so we'll just do find work email, and then first name, and then only run if find work email is empty. Easy enough. All these will run, save and run. Get. All right, looks like they got a couple more. Find email is usually pretty good. So last step here, or 2 more steps for the list. So next thing we'll do is merge columns. So I'm giving you pretty much all the main functions here. And so merge columns will allow you to select data from multiple columns. So find email there, and then that'll find anything that has a good result. And then for this one, it'll be similar. All right, great. So we found a couple emails, and you can add more inputs if you want. So you'll save it down. Now this is all well and good. Let's actually set up, we got to verify the email. So they have 0 bounce. You can just run that one, or you can use an HTTP API, which with whatever your preferred validator is. I'm going to skip that step now. Okay, cool. So now we have our email address, and actually I will just verify. All right, valid emails. Good stuff. Cool. So now what we can do is write some copy. So what we'll focus on when we build these lists, first you want to understand the market, what's going on, why does it exist, what are they doing there, what pains are they solving, how are they solving those pains, find the individuals at companies that would be relevant, then you want to build the campaign. Campaign is going to be the copy. So in this case, we're just going to do very basic process, and I'll show you how you can have individually unique emails. So, and you can do it all in Clay. So in this case, we will create a little prompt. Create for me a meta prompt that will give me a cold email. I want the email to reference the person's job title, what they would be interested in solving based on their title, their pain points, and a simple how our company solves it, and a simple call to action asking, are you interested in learning? Then we'll take the data that we learned from earlier and give it as context. Here's the context. Under 80 words, referencing the recipient's job title to highlight relevant pain. All right, cool. So let's just take this prompt. You're always going to want to adjust these for your own use, but let's do it now. So we'll go to chat. This is again generating text. If you use 4.0, it's going to be better. If you use Claude, it'll be even better than that. We're using 4.0 mini for now. So context, the company, what they do, their value prop, the pains they solve, titles, all that stuff. So in this case, we'll just do first name. We only have name, so we'll just do that. All right, let's just see what it gives us. And then in this case, we'll only want to run if the email column is not empty. Nice. Looks right. Run 10 rows. We got it. So, hey, Teresa, as a commercial property manager, you probably face challenges with coordinating multiple vendors and ensuring their timely maintenance across your portfolios. Lesson helps firms like yours streamline property operations through a centralized platform for repairs, vendor management, and capital projects, saving you time and reducing operational risk. Are you interested in learning more? Right. So that is a fully custom email. You can continue to manipulate the different merge fields. So yeah, this is to the final step, which now is to just push it into your sending tool. So the way you do this in Smart Lead, and you'll want to hit add lead to a campaign, and then you just map the fields. You hit save, it pushes it right into Smart Lead, and you'll be off to the races. So this is how you can build a full campaign end to end in very quick time. In less than 40 minutes, we were able to fully develop this campaign out. You're going to want to drill deeper in your value propositions and your pain points and your messaging, but the focus is get your targeting really tight and then write your campaigns to your targeting. So that's a campaign process end to end entirely inside of Clay. If you need help building your own campaigns, you'd like some guidance getting more leads into your pipeline, then book a call at levergrowth.io. I'll help you out, see if it's a good fit. We can talk about actually working together. Otherwise, hope you had some value in this video. I will chat with you in the next one. Talk to you then. Peace.